Happy Independence Day, everyone. Jeff Hancher here. Hey, I wanted to recycle an episode from 2020. This isn't something that I do very often, but I also know that as new listeners come on board, it's not always likely that people go back to season one and, start binge listening. And as I was thinking about Independence Day, I reflected on this episode that I did in my first year of podcasting. And I remember I wasn't even in studio. I was up early one morning and reading some articles and catching up on the news of the day. And here it was, July 4th. And I just started reflecting. Now, keep in mind, July of 2020, we were in the throes of COVID and a pandemic. And it just got me thinking about, adversity isn't a new topic here. And it got me thinking about our forefathers and all of the things that have had to happen to get us to this place of being an amazing country, not without fault, but an amazing country, but it's come at a cost. And it's come at a cost of leadership bravery, some people that were able to band together and create a level of unity. And when I think of Independence Day and I think about how much I love our country, I think this message holds true today. So I hope this message speaks to you as we recycle this, because I think it is a topic that we can stand to hear more than one time. The topic of bravery, the topic of unity, and what it truly takes to have freedom. Enjoy this episode, and happy 4th of July to all of you listening. Happy 4th of July, everyone. It's your biggest fan, Jeff Hancher. I am coming to you today, July 4th, 2020. I am not in studio. This is the uncut version of the Champion Forum podcast. But as I'm sitting here at 10:35 Eastern Time on July 4th, 2020, got up very early this morning, began doing some work, began doing some journaling, really thinking today, a lot of reflection. This day is very important to me as we celebrate our country's independence. But I think with that independence comes some opportunity to reflect and think about those moments in time where our forefathers had to create unity and had to do some very brave things in order to get to where we are today. It was the foundations that they built. And so as I was reflecting on what were those moments like? What would they have thought about? I also started thinking about what would they do today? If those same great men were alive today, what would they be doing differently maybe than we are? And it's probably quite a bit. And that got me just really thinking about some key leadership principles, key things that I wanted to share with you all today in this special edition. I normally don't do this. Matter of fact, I've never done a remote recording. So nothing fancy. This is me giving you what is on my heart today as we celebrate the independence of our country. So what I've titled this is Leadership Lessons We Can Learn from Our Nation's Independence. As many of you know, I am a man of faith. And many of my faith-filled friends that might be listening to this may disagree. But I firmly believe that the Declaration of Independence and our Constitution were both divinely inspired. To me, that brings a great accountability to hold true to its very principles. And frankly, I feel like we could be doing a I would say a much better job than we are right now. I'm a student of history because I feel like we can learn a great deal from history. Anytime my family wants to watch movies, have movie night or whatever, I'm always putting my vote in for the biography, the documentary, whatever it might be. I'm always trying to learn from history. I often ask myself, like I started the start of the show, how would great leaders of yesteryear handle our current challenges? I think we can learn a lot from that perspective. And with that said, I want to bring you 2 Independence Day challenges to every leader and person of influence two things that I think our forefathers did that we need to adopt more now as we face the current challenges that we face in society, and many of us even within our businesses. So here's those two leadership lessons. Lesson one, the men who put pen to paper on the Declaration of Independence fully expected to die for doing so. That's a hard lesson to learn. Many of us will never even know what that feels like to be willing to give up our life for a cause. Benjamin Franklin put it very well because he was one of those men. Here's what Benjamin Franklin told his peers. He said, "We must all hang together, or assuredly we shall hang separately." Man, think about that. Talk about somebody that was trying to create some bipartisanship, if you will, because man, if we don't get this right, we're all going to die. They knew that declaring independence would be a charge of treason, which would most undoubtedly lead to execution. However, they were focused in their conviction and they moved forward. They were willing to lead and endorse that document with a full understanding of its consequences. I believe it's essential that we recognize that great leadership is going to require bravery. And in today's climate, I find that we're not lacking bravery, but we're lacking judgment. Peter Marshall once said, "May we think of freedom not as the right to do as we please, but as the opportunity to do what is right." Bravery is not being irresponsible. Bravery and freedom, I would tell you, are a lot like thinking. Everyone has the right to think, but that doesn't mean what you think is right. Just because you can think doesn't mean that there's great thoughts in your mind. Just like being brave doesn't give you the right to be irresponsible. There's a difference between being brave for the right things and being brave and being a radical for the wrong things. They're both brave, and that's great. But man, I don't think there's a lack of bravery. There's a lack of judgment right now. I believe that the bravest thing that we can do as leaders is to call others to greatness in a way that is unified and is not destructive. Don't be brave for brave's sake. Don't be brave for the spotlight. Don't be brave to cure that itch of arrogance that you have. Don't be brave because you have an ego so big that needs fed. Be brave because you're doing the right things. Because you don't care who's right, you care what's right. You're a leader that's brave enough to promote what you love versus bash what you hate. And I firmly believe in the core of my being, that's what we need from leaders more than anything right now. Lesson 2, our forefathers knew the value of unity. You see, in that day, King George was a very powerful man. And the British Empire was nothing to be joked around with. They were a force to be reckoned with. And maybe you're naive enough to think that there weren't vast differences between this group of brave men that signed the Declaration of Independence. Maybe you think that they were on the same page and everything just seamlessly came together. I'm here to tell you that this was not the case. They had vast differences. As a matter of fact, it's likely that there wasn't a single one of them that entirely got their way. That's most likely the case. However, what they did do was they looked past some of their differences to work towards common goals. And as leaders of today, the best thing that we can do is to see that our vision is more important than our differences. This is an ongoing challenge for every business, every group, every church, and every ideal in the world today. I'll be the first to say that you should be willing to die for the very things that you value most dearly. It's for that exact reason that I became a soldier in the United States Army. I'm willing to die for our freedom. I am willing to die for independence. I'm willing to die for what's right. However, sometimes I think we get so wrapped up in winning the battle that we lose sight of the war. Compromise is not always a bad thing if it supports the greater good. There are enemies all around this world, that are on full assault after freedom. There are enemies in our country that support social injustice. There is an enemy that comes to steal, kill, and destroy. We need leaders that are willing to be brave and unified to bring life. There's plenty of death. There's plenty of darkness. There's plenty of those things. We need leaders that are brave enough to unify together for the common good, to bring life into death, to bring light into darkness. It's likely at some point this weekend, you're going to be gathered around the grill. You're going to be celebrating. You're going to be enjoying some fireworks. You're going to be having a grand old time. And at some point, most likely in today's economic and social climate, conversations are going to become divisive. There will be talk of political differences, social differences, and I could go down the list. Social media will be blowing up today because it's Independence Day. There's going to be political bashing. There's going to be people bashing, what they hate. It's going to be rampant probably more today than it has been in weeks. There's going to be a lot of talk of all of the differences. This is nothing new, folks. This isn't new. Do you think the types of challenges we have today are new? I would argue that they are increasing, but I'm here to tell you they're not new. Let's take a lesson from our forefathers and be the leaders that are brave and united. Not only will these principles help you to become a better business person, they're going to allow you to become an influencer. There's a big difference between leading with a title and influencing people. I would also tell you, if you're listening today and you don't have the title, be an influencer. My good friend John Maxwell has said it well so many times. Leadership is about influence, nothing more, nothing less. I wish you all the best as you celebrate the independence of the United States of America. I want to thank every veteran and service member that might be listening to this message. We value your sacrifice, and we commit to you that we're going to work harder to make your sacrifice worthwhile. Keep leading well, and never, ever forget, you all have been set up to be champions in this life.